It's been about a week since several Midwest city sanitation workers were fired. To date, 35 people are out of jobs. Garbage collection's running about normal for businesses, but most residential routes are taking 2 days. The firing of those city employees came about after they called in sick when the city refused to recognize their union. City Manager Irving Frank says he and the City Council feel their action was in the best interest of the city and are currently hiring new employees to fill the empty slots. They consider the matter a dead issue and have not scheduled discussion on tonight's City Council agenda.
It is not an agenda item under the charter of the City of Midwest City. The City Council would rely upon the City Manager and the staff to handle matters such as this in an administrative realm. It is not, and it would not normally be discussed at the council meeting tonight.
Although the City Council chambers are quiet now, the room may be buzzing with discussion later tonight. Members of various unions plan to show up and express their anger about the recent firing of Midwest City sanitation workers. Well, whether their comments will have any impact on the City Council remains to be seen. And to keep you informed, we'll have a complete follow-up story on our 10 o'clock update. Carol Lambert, Action 4 in Midwest City. Has soared in the past few years. People have found it to be the next best thing to the free feeling of flying like a bird. Here in Oklahoma, motorized hang gliders called Ultralights are really catching on. It's really very easy to fly one with proper training, and restrictions on the aircraft are almost non-existent. Just like any vehicle, accidents can happen. Yesterday, an Oklahoma City man was killed when his ultralight plummeted 50 feet to the ground. Experts attribute the crash to poor judgment by the pilot.
He certainly should not have been out flying in the conditions he was flying in, considering the fact that he was a very inexperienced pilot.
Weiss says flying an ultralight can be just as safe as driving a car.
People that are looking into the sport to try to fly one, or especially if they have bought a machine and they're planning on learning how to fly it, you need to go to a qualified instructor and learn how to fly it. It's going to cost you some money to do that, but that's what you need to do, is to learn how to fly it properly and just take it a step at a time.
He adds that just like a lot of other pleasures in life, ultralight flying will probably see some stricter regulations by the first of the year. But even if that happens, he says, nothing can restrict that great feeling of flying through the air. Carol Lambert, Action 4.
This late-night fire was spotted as arson when firefighters arrived on the scene. The four families living here all escaped unharmed, but everything they owned was destroyed. Officials estimate the loss to be at $134,000. Even the cars outside the building were gutted. Fortunately, the flames never did reach the gas tanks. Precious time was lost when water hoses were hooked up to fire hydrants that had no water or low water pressure. There's no way of telling how much of anything could have been saved if these hydrants had been working properly. There are 8,500 fire hydrants in Oklahoma City, and at any given one time, about 600 of the fire hydrants don't work properly. Unfortunately, firefighters don't know that in many cases until there's a fire and the hydrants are needed. But what's being done to make sure these things work when they're needed?
We just can't replace 8,000 hydrants in the city.
The water department tells us a shortage of manpower and spare parts makes it hard to ensure all the hydrants are working.
We have to remove an old hydrant, put a new hydrant in, and then use the parts from that old hydrant to find and repair a hydrant of the same make and about as many years old as the one we removed, and sort of cannibalizing hydrants as we go to try to keep them in service.
The fire department is now checking all hydrants in Oklahoma City to see what kind of condition they're in. It's time-consuming, and sometimes a hydrant may check out okay one day and have problems a week later. But overall, the hydrant checks are helpful to avoid what could be a disaster if a particular hydrant is out of water when it's needed to put out a fire. Ed Stewart, Action 4, Oklahoma City.
Peter, you okay?
Yeah.
You feel okay?
Just need some rest.
What did he do to you?
Well, he didn't really do anything to me. He just wanted me to help him to get out of here.
Did you help talk to him, negotiate with him, just to keep him calm? What types of things did you say?
I just told him that I'd help him as much as I could try to get out of here. That way he might get...
But you feel okay, right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Which car?
We haven't patted him down yet.
Take him down.
Back up.
Okay.
Shot one. The dog found him like never did. We walked right over.
County.
We walked right over.
Where's Dog County? I'm thankful the hostage is safe. I'm glad my officers did not shoot when they come out of the door, because they could not tell at the time which was a hostage and which was a defendant. And I'm just happy it ended like it is. We'll have the man on the way to the hospital and have him treated. Man on the way to the hospital and have him treated.
Negotiating didn't work. The suspect made a break for it. He dressed his victim like himself, so the SWAT team wouldn't know which man to shoot. But as he tried to jump a fence with his victim, the belt binding them together at the wrist came apart. The hostage ducked, and some policemen opened fire while others protected the hostage. The suspect got away, but so did the hostage, and he got away unharmed. After 10 hours of terrifying captivity, Peter Cho was reunited with his wife.
Peter, you okay?
Yeah.
You feel okay?
Just need some rest.
What did he do to you?
Well, he didn't really do anything to me. He just wanted me to help him to get out of here.
Did you help talk to him, negotiate with him, just to keep him calm? What types of things did you say?
I just told him that I'd help him as much as I could try to get out of here. That way he might get...
But you feel okay, right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Within the hour, about 4:30, the suspect was captured by a police officer and his dog. In the exchange of gunfire, he had been wounded in the hip and had hit in the field. 26-year-old Danny Ray Saunders was taken to a hospital for treatment. Officials say Saunders has as many as 4 previous convictions for armed robbery. Ted Brown, Action 4 in Southeast Oklahoma City.
Start of Finished Record to the 3800 block of Southeast 54.
On Labor Day at New Mexico's Ruidoso Downs, special effort won the All-American Futurity. The quarter horse had already won the Kansas Futurity and Rainbow Futurity, so it became quarter horse racing's first Triple Crown winner. Vernon Hyde and Michael Blackburn, both of Oklahoma City, had shares in the horse. At one time, they worked for Don Calvin Tyner, the man who syndicated the horse for $15 million. After special effort won the Triple Crown, Hyde and Blackburn alleged Tyner tried to force them to return their shares.
The complaint alleges that at one point the blinds were pulled down, the doors were locked, the television was turned on to a high volume, and one of the defendants indicated that by flexing his muscle that normally that was sufficient, but if that wasn't, this is, and he then gestured with his finger indicating as if he were pulling the trigger of a gun.
Tyner and two of his employees, along with a man from Irving, Texas, were arrested by FBI agents on charges of using threats to extort the shares. All four have been released on bond. Tyner's attorney told me that he's looking forward to their day in court in order to clear up this matter. Ben McCain, Action 4. Ben McCain, Action 4.
If you happen to venture out to Lake Hefner yesterday for some fun and frolicking, you may have noticed a myriad of planes in the air. But you needn't have worried, because like this glider, they were only models of the real thing. Turks, the Oklahoma Radio Kontrol Society, hosted an appreciation day for Edgewater homeowners. Residents in the area have okayed future model plane exhibitions for the 80-plus members who enjoy a few hours of soaring the skies. These people take their hobby to heart. Veteran Joe Domenico has his own look-alike in the cockpit, cigar and all. These planes are all real-scale models of the real thing, like this World War II fighter bomber.
Okay, let's split S and come right down the field again.
All right, very pretty, very nice.
But out of all the aerobatic flying maneuvers shown off, one of the most daring was this three-plane dogfight. The object is to cut a streamer off the opponent's plane, which constitutes a kill.
Oh, look out, here he goes. Who got him? He got him, he got him. That Jones got stuck up on and killed from behind.
Besides expert showmanship, a lot more came out of the model plane show. There's no longer a threat of noise and nuisance to nearby neighbors. In fact, there's only afternoons of flying in store for everyone. Carol Lambert, Action 4 at Lake Hefner.
Takes excellent pilots to maneuver these aircraft as close to each other.
Former Oklahoma County Commissioner J.P. Dick Richardson slowly made his way inside the federal courthouse today with the help of his family and attorney. Richardson is the last of the original 10 people named by the FBI alleging illegal kickbacks on county purchases. Specifically, Richardson was indicted on 15 counts that include bribery, extortion, and mail fraud. The former county commissioner's attorney had asked for a trial delay because Richardson is extremely ill. And he adds the stress of court could very likely cause Richardson to die. Well, court went on, and Judge Luther Eubanks ordered a recliner be provided for Richardson to make him more comfortable. He sat there as a jury of 6 men and 6 women were seated, unable to hear much of what was going on, supposedly because his illness has affected his hearing. The jury listened as Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Price alleged Richardson was paid $1,700 in kickbacks from building supplier Guy Moore, and Price said the government will play a taped conversation of the alleged transaction that took place last year. Court has been recessed until 9:30 tomorrow morning. When proceedings finally do get started, they're not expected to last long because of Richardson's health. The defense chose not to make an opening statement yet. I asked defense attorney Dwayne Miller if he could give me any idea as to what would be his main argument. He said anything that has to be said will only be said in court. Ed Stewart, Action 4 at the Federal Courthouse.
Western artist Frederick Remington sculpted his 4 famous cowboys coming through the Rye nearly 80 years ago. Remington cast the bronze statue in miniature, 28 inches high. But the artist always wanted to see his sculpture cast life-size as a monument to the cowboys of the West. Remington's dream has come true. A wealthy Texas woman commissioned California sculptor Franco Vianello to cast Coming Through the Rye. It's taken Vianello 3 years to complete the 9-ton statue. Each of Remington's 15 Coming Through the Rye originals is slightly different than the rest. Likewise, Vianello's labor of love also has some differences.
This is designed with the idea that will be at least 5 feet up from the ground. So if you notice the head of the horse, they are a little tiny bit smaller than the actual Remington because they are closer to you, and the men heads are a little bit larger than they should be. Then when you look at it, it looks fine. Your eyes will look to the piece, and it looks all right.
The statue will be officially unveiled during ceremonies October 9th. In the meantime, visitors who want a sneak preview can see Remington's original Coming Through the Rye sculpture on display at the Western Museum. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the National Cowboy Hall of Fame.
For the smoking in the apartment, so we can only guess as to what they were going to do with it. There is a continuing investigation as to the narcotics and other crimes. What this is used for is to smoke the opium, which is not so popular here, but is in the Middle East countries such as Iran and Turkey, opium is smoked. One of the subjects that lived in the apartment is Iranian, so it was either, of course, and there were also paraphernalia that was used for the smoking in the apartment, so we can only guess as to what they were going to do with it. There is a continuing investigation as to the narcotics and other crimes by several jurisdictions and agencies.
Last night, the Kinsey family took their vigil under the grandstands in hopes of something, anything, concerning Charlotte's whereabouts. This was to be the 4th consecutive night that Charlotte's family would sit on this bench. The family began the night with a positive outlook. This is a new night with new leads. But by 4 a.m., their spirits were low. This night would also be a failure.
We worry. We go walk. We talk to get rid of the emotions. We plead.
Police and male family members searched all night on leads in hopes of finding Charlotte and her friend. Every young girl and bearded man was given a second look. Observation wasn't easy, though, because of the reckless mood of the carnies. Time is now working against the Kinseys. The fair is halfway through. The question is now entering their minds. What if the fair leaves and Charlotte has not been found? Her relatives say they'll follow the fair until the girls are safe at home. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
Thousands of people visit the state fair each night. They come in all shapes and sizes. Fair officials say the double Ferris wheel is a good barometer of fair attendance. If the seats are filled, it's a good turnout. Despite bad publicity and less than perfect weather, fair attendance has been about the same as last year.
Certainly the weather affects it. You know, if you get rain and everybody's forced inside or forced to stay away, that will affect your attendance. As far as the problem with the 2 missing girls, we've not experienced any kind of attendance decrease or anything. Any measurement is so slight that it's not been able to record that, you know, or mark it against bad publicity or anything of that nature.
Fair officials expect a larger crowd this weekend when the Ice Capades moves out to make room for the rodeo. Mark O'Neill, Action 4, the State Fair.
Police are trying to cut down on scenes like this with a one-night effort involving about 50 officers from the Highway Patrol, County Sheriff's Office, and the Oklahoma City Police. Their sole purpose is to catch drinking drivers.
Well, Oklahoma County has experienced an increase in the number of fatalities over last year, and quite a bit of these, or a number of these fatalities, approximately 50%, can be attributed to the drinking driver. So we're going to emphasize this aspect over Friday night and see what kind of effect we can have on it.
Carlton says it's the occasional drinking motorists they're trying to catch because he says they are the ones that cause half the accidents. They'll use roadblocks with mobile breathalyzer units and videotape cameras for drivers who refuse the test. It's the first all-out effort to enforce drunk driving laws since 1970, and the Sheriff's Office is making room at the county jail for what could be an unusually busy and crowded Friday night. Ted Brown, Action 4 at the Highway Patrol headquarters.
Three young men went in for a helicopter ride, and they, as one of them became angry in the back seat, the information from the pilot, and as he was over this Delmar Street here, attempted to open the back door. They tried to restrain him. 2 of his friends tried to restrain him, and as the door did open, he succeeded opening the door. The pilot attempted to restrain him, and he couldn't control the chopper and keep the door closed. So he lowered it to about 300 feet, and the man went ahead and jumped from the cockpit.
This weekend's gathering is fashioned after a down-home-town meeting. Directors of mental health agencies, former mental patients, and concerned citizens are sharing ideas and information. There are many topics of mental health being discussed, ranging from treatment and care to transitional living. About 150 people showed up for today's session to work together in formatting ways to erase the stigma of mental illness and to devise methods to help those patients who leave the hospital adjust in daily life. A new program underway is called the Community Support Program, which, as Theta Starr explains, will help those people with special needs.
We're talking about a lot of support programs that are needed to assist a mental client, or really, as we've heard today, people who have emotional problems or are in need of psychiatric help. We need community support programs in the state. Now, when we talk about community support, we're talking about Social Security, Veterans Administration, Bureau of Indian Affairs, welfare services. All of these can and need to be linked together to form a community support program for our mental population.
The state mental health department applied for a federal grant to help with developing this program, but was denied as a result of budget cutting. Starr says, however, the agency will proceed with the community support program, funds or no funds. Carol Lambert, Action 4.
And the applications of the Foreign Military Sale Program. So I think sale and events associated with that the airplane really doesn't go to Saudi Arabia until 1985. We probably have about a 5-year training period with the Saudis in which Americans would be very much involved in the operations support of that aircraft during this training period. And so we're talking about maybe 1990 before the Saudis would be operating this weapon system by themselves. And by that time, certainly the technology of that weapon system will be fairly well known, I would think it'd be safe to say.